How has popular Netflix show Cobra Kai impacted dojos in the San Fernando Valley? The music stops as the knives are passed out. In a Woodland Hills strip mall off Victory Boulevard, tucked into a corner unit next door to an appliance outlet store and school uniform retailer, the voice of karate instructor Nima Elie echoes around a 7,000-square-foot studio. "If you have a weapon," he announces to his class of 8 to 10-year-olds, sitting quietly before him with green, blue and brown belts tied around their waists, "you do not mess around." And with that, the Tuesday night class at Teen Karate Center begins. There aren't real knives being wielded, only harmless plastic props used for a self-defense drill. But at Teen Karate Center, one of the oldest martial arts schools in the San Fernando Valley, the point is to remind the young students about the seriousness of their training, to keep them focused as they pair up and practice how to defend themselves with forearm blocks and disarm an attacker with a swift strike of their hand. If this all seems right out of a Hollywood script, motivational messages on a wall, kids sparring amid a chorus of hi-yas, and instructor commands, the duality of an art form that promotes aggression while also teaching its students how to harness it, that's because it sort of is. It might not be an exact reflection of Cobra Kai, the hit Netflix series that rebooted the beloved Karate Kid movies of the 1980s and has returned the ancient martial art to the forefront of pop culture. But the parallels are impossible to ignore. The goal of all martial arts, in my opinion, is developing your competency and your character, says Farah Borzazak, the 60-year-old sensei who has run Teen Karate Center for 4 decades. The goal of all martial arts, in my opinion, is developing your competency and your character. And as the show, which just released its 5th season and has garnered millions of fans around the world, continues to grow in popularity and influence, the karate community hopes it will benefit as well. Cobra Kai and Karate Kid made it real, so people could relate to it, as Zach explains. "As far as I'm concerned, it was the 2 biggest things that drew martial arts students to our schools." Josh Heald, a co-creator of the Cobra Kai series, was never one of those karate-obsessed kids. Neither were his 2 partners on the show, John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg. "I took karate in a dojo for a few weeks when I was a kid," Heald said with a laugh. "I took karate in a dojo for a few weeks when I was a kid." As children of the 80s, however, the themes of the Karate Kid movies still resonated with them. The conflict between metaphysical and militaristic teaching styles. The tension of learning violence and understanding when to use it. And the underdog story of Daniel LaRusso, the teenage protagonist who fights with honor and respect, overcoming his rival, Johnny Lawrence, who has mastered karate's physical skills but not its morality. "It has a Rudy-like quality to it," Heald said. "It has a Rudy-like quality to it." That's what made the trio determined to create the spin-off Cobra Kai show, in which Ralph Macchio and William Zabka reprise their roles of Daniel and Johnny, respectively, now as adults instructing a new generation of karate students in the Valley. After attracting millions of views through its first 2 seasons in 2018 and 2019, which aired on YouTube Premium, the show moved to Netflix and quickly became one of the streaming service's most watched titles. The 4th season reportedly garnered more than 120 million hours viewed in its first 3 days on the platform, when it was released at the start of the year. Season number 5 dropped Friday, eagerly anticipated by a worldwide audience again. "I would say karate is the best sport to be telling the personal and philosophical lessons we're exploring on the show," Heald said. "I would say karate is the best sport to be telling the personal and philosophical lessons we're exploring on the show." 4 decades ago, the original Karate Kid helped introduce the sport to pop culture. Martial arts had been practiced in the United States for decades, often in commercialized martial arts schools run by servicemen who had learned versions of the discipline while stationed throughout the Pacific during and after World War II. But it was portrayals on film and television that exposed it to a wider audience, such as the 1971 Western Billy Jack, David Carradine's hit Kung Fu series on ABC, and the films of Bruce Lee. "It was the movies that changed martial arts forever," said Michael Matsuda, president of the Burbank-based Martial Arts History Museum. Like many of his students, Azak's first introduction to martial arts came in front of a screen. During his childhood in Iran in the early 1970s, Azak and his older brother would go to the movies almost every Friday. And one week, their theater was showing Enter the Dragon, the iconic 1973 spy thriller starring Lee as an undercover agent and martial arts master. It didn't matter that the film was in a different language, translated through subtitles. Zach felt an immediate connection, drawn in by the presence, the movements, everything about the movie, he said.